Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Jurassic World Primal Attack Extreme Chomping Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, like I said in my Battle Damage Velociraptor review, I said that normally I don't really like to review repaints, but I feel like this is an exception because there is actually something that's different about this figure. It's very small, but I feel like it's enough to warrant its own video, so yeah. I figured, you know what, why not? Plus, I actually kind of like this figure. In my opinion, it's one of my favorite T.rexes from Mattel so far. I don't have the Super Colossal Rex because, well, where am I going to put it? So, yeah. So, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say, so, yeah. But before we take a look at the figure itself, I know I talked about this for the Ornitholestes review, but this packaging, I absolutely love this. Like, this is perfect. Like, you have, the fence in the background, like, the grass with, the sunset and everything. Like, very reminiscent of, the original, Kenner packaging. We have Tyrannosaurus Rex right here, Extreme Chomping. I mean, we have Blue and Owen right here, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, I get why they're there, but still not a big fan of these two on the packaging. If you just cover this up, this is literally perfect. I love this. This is what we should have gotten for the Legacy Collection. The Legacy Collection packaging was still nice, but this is definitely much nicer. But anyway, we have an example of what you can do with the figure here. And the Jurassic World logo right here, just closed packaging. This is great. I absolutely love this. But anyway, on the side here, we have a nice picture of the figure here. And on the back, we just have, a picture of the figure and just a blue background with, you can see a little bit of Isla Nublar there, but, this isn't bad. This is just, it's boring. It's fine, but still boring. I feel like a diorama would have been great. Just maybe have her in a forest or something. And maybe have human figure. Kind of like with, the original Kenner line, how on the back of the packaging there was a diorama. Actually, funny story. I remember, I was 6 or 5 years old. Maybe even 7. I went to a flea market and I found the young Rex in a box. And I was just looking at the back, because, the diorama looked so good. And I didn't even know that was the back. I just thought that was, the actual front of the box. So, yeah, again, a diorama like that would be great. So, yeah. Anyway, some other figures that you can get in the line. These two, I'm definitely going to skip out on. This one, I might get. And this one, I really want, but for some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, this thing here costs, $40 on Amazon. So I think I'm all set with that price tag, so yeah, if I can get it for cheaper, $10, like it's supposed to be, then yeah, of course I'm going to get it, but, 40? I don't think so. But, we have the Jurassic World logo here, and underneath, we just have instructions on how to put in the tail, and some legal information. And that's pretty much it for the packaging. Now for the figure itself. And first, we'll take a look at the painting. And the painting on this figure is actually not bad. I don't love it. I bought this thinking that this is going to be more accurate to the T-Rex from Jurassic Park than the original Extreme Chomping T-Rex, but it's not one-to-one, but it still looks nicer. So let's take a closer look. So of course, most of the body is this darker, brownish color, almost like a grayish color, which does look nice. And on the back, we do have a very nice shade of brown from the base of the neck here all the way to the base of the tail here. It would have been nice if it continued to the tail or through the tail, but unfortunately it does not. And we do get a little more of that airbrushing on the snout right here, which actually looks very nice, and even around the eye. Speaking of the eyes themselves are painted yellow with black pupils. The teeth are painted a bonish whitish color, which looks alright, though it's not really well applied. It just looks like it was just slapped on there. So there's that. And if we open up the mouth, we can see that everything on the inside is pink. And something that's different from the original, which I do like, the tongue here is actually fixed more to the bottom, on the bottom jaw, rather than just sticking out in the middle, in the original one. So I do like that a lot. So for example, you could take hand sanitizer and just, have a much better jaw, or just an easier time just holding it. I mean, yeah, she's not really going to hold the hand sanitizer well, but you get the idea. So, yeah. Anyway, oh, almost forgot. The underside of the figure is painted a tannish color, which does look alright. The toenails are painted black, a very shiny shade of black. And the fingernails are painted, well, nothing, because they didn't paint them, unfortunately. And underneath the feet, we have the Jurassic World logo and the scan code. And that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. And the painting on this figure, it's not terrible, but the painting here still looks very nice. So the painting on this figure is good. So I'd say it gets a pass. There are some spots where they could have touched up a little more, but overall, the painting here looks good. Now I'll take a look at the articulation, and the articulation on this figure, it's the same as the original, but it's worse in one way. We'll talk about that. But anyway, the tail here is on a ball joint. It feels kind of loose, but, you know, still on a ball joint. The legs can move 360. And one thing that I find a little frustrating, the ankles are on swivels, which isn't to add like any articulation, it's just to fit in the packaging, which normally would be fine, but that can sort of mess up, like, you know, balance for this figure at times. So yeah, that's one thing that I don't like. The arms can move 360 and can twist, you know, that way for some reason. And this is the part, like, this figure, believe it or not, I was actually surprised when I got this. This figure is actually electronic. You get very, like, movie-authentic sounds, which I think is really cool. And all you gotta do is just, you know, move the neck around. So isn't that great? Isn't that, like, you know, great? Don't you just love that? All jokes aside, that is one of the worst things ever, and, you know, one thing I really don't like about this figure, and it's actually funny, before I reviewed the Extreme Chomping T.rex back in 2019, I recorded the review for it, and it was squeaking just like that. And then the second I started recording, and like the second I started moving the neck, it just stopped. So my original Extreme Chomping T.rex does not squeak anymore. So maybe over time, if I just move the neck more, it'll just stop squeaking. But, you know, overall, I don't like that at all. But anyway, we do have a button on the back of the head here, so all we gotta do is just push that. And that's actually one thing that I do like. The tongue here is actually fixed to the bottom, instead of just like it being in the middle. So I do like that a lot. So yeah, probably talked about that before. In fact, I probably just did. So I guess that's that. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. And the articulation on this figure is good, despite this little issue right here. Overall, the articulation is still very good. So the articulation gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpting on this figure is almost perfect. I love this thing. Like, really quick, I just want to say this, like, this head, like, this isn't like with Hasbro's Chomping T.rex, like some bootleg-looking T.rex. This is the T.rex from Jurassic Park. This looks fantastic, like, you know, from the front, it looks great from the side. Like, this head sculpt is just incredible. Like, the sculpting here is great. That sound isn't great, but, yeah, no, like, the sculpting for the most part looks great. One thing I don't like, I talked about this again in my Chomping T.rex review, the size of the feet here, like, they're too big. And I know it's like to help balance the figure, but another thing I don't like, the short tail. I feel like if the tail was like longer, at least like up to here, then I feel like the balancing here would be much better, then they wouldn't need to give this figure like huge feet, but unfortunately, they decided, you know what, let's give this animal huge feet and a short tail. And granted, it does stand well. It doesn't stand horribly, but at the same time, like, as far as aesthetics go and just like the overall look of the figure, it does take away a little for me. I mean, at certain angles, you could position the tail like that, so it doesn't look awful, but the tail is still very short, and I'm not a big fan of that. So, yeah, I'll talk more about that towards the end, but overall, the sculpting on this figure, other than the feet and the tail, it is incredible, especially with this head sculpt. Like, I can't stress this enough, this head looks very identical to the one from Jurassic Park. I absolutely love that. So, yeah, the sculpting on this figure is great, but unfortunately, because of the feet and tail, it's not perfect. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give this figure 3/4 of a pass. Not a full pass, but just 3/4, which is still not bad, but still. So, yeah. Anyway, now we'll take a look at the detailing. And the detailing on this figure, once again, just like with the sculpting and everything else, is fantastic. So, taking a look at the head here, we can see all of the scaling. Everything here is very nicely defined. I really do like everything here. All the scaling looks great. And even on the inside of the mouth, all of the creasing and everything on the tongue there looks great. One thing I'm not really the biggest fan of, like, I ordered this thing from Amazon, and, like, the side of, like, the membranes here, and even, like, on the side of the face, like, I don't know if you can see it there. This figure got really scuffed up. I don't know how. It was, like, wrapped in, like, this, like, almost like a plastic bag. It was, like, sealed, but I don't get how that happened, but whatever. Anyway, the creasing on the side of the neck also looks great. All of the creasing and everything here, very nicely defined. I like how everything looks here. The arms here, detailed very nicely. Very nice musculature. And even the fingers themselves look great. I feel like one is longer than the other, which looks a little weird, but I'm fine with it. Anyway, going to the leg here, we can see more very nice creasing. And really beautiful, like, musculature in, like, the legs here. Especially in the calves here. I really do like that. So, yeah. And even these, like, ridiculously huge feet, these are detailed very nicely. And going to the tail here, we have more creasing, which, again, everything here looks great. Very nicely defined. And so on. And that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And the detailing on this figure is very good. I like it a lot. So the detailing here definitely gets a pass. So at the end of the day, should you get this? It's not a bad figure by any means. Even though I'm not a big fan of the feet here and the tail. Overall I still feel like it's a good figure. And it might sound nitpicky that, I'm not a big fan of how the feet look, but I feel like it's a very, like, noticeable thing. Because, for example, here's the OG, the Lego green T-Rex from Lego Dino back in 2012. I talked about it before, but Lego Dino was one of my favorite things as a kid. And this is their T-Rex. I got this for my, I want to say 11th birthday? 11th or 10th birthday? Maybe 12th, I don't know. But either way, I got this, and, the feet, like, sure, they're, like, big, but they're not, like, they're not, like, super big, and, like, the tail, I feel like, is a good size, too. So, like, this thing stands perfectly well. And even something that is more foreign, that I reviewed on this channel before, here is Takara's T-Rex, and as you can see, the tail is a very good length, and the feet are a very nice size, and witchcraft, it stands perfectly. So, if this figure can stand like this with the small feet and long tail, then, I find it very unnecessary that, the big feet and the really short tail here, I just find that very unnecessary. But if you want a comparison, because this is a repaint, here is the original Extreme Chomping T-Rex. For the most part, they're the same, except for the tongue here, because as you can see, the tongue dead in the middle, and then the tongue here is more at the bottom. And, yeah. So, between the two, if I had to pick one, I'd say in terms of, like, I'd say this one, but I do really like this a lot too, so out of the two, I'd say that this is the better figure. And in my opinion, this is actually, I know I just said this at the beginning of the video, but this is actually my favorite T-Rex that, Mattel's made so far. I'm not a big fan of their Thrash and Throw T-Rex, and their Super Colossal T-Rex looks good, but I don't really know where to put it, because it's just huge. I don't really have the Bite and Fight Tyrannosaurus, which is what the colors are based off of here. And the new, like, electronic one for Camp Cretaceous, I'm probably not going to get because I feel like the head sculpt looks a little weird. So, yeah. Overall, if you want this figure, I'd say go for it. It's not a bad figure at all. On Amazon, it's about 25 bucks, which is honestly not bad. It's actually 5 bucks more than the original Extreme Chomping T-Rex, which I don't get why, but it's not the end of the world, so if you can get this figure, I'd say go for it. This is definitely not a bad figure whatsoever. So, yeah. Anyway, if you want to know how big she is, here she is next to some hand sanitizer. And here she is with Dr. Billy Grant. And they actually scale very well together. Well, not really, not so much this, but Billy Grant and Rexy, they look great together. So, yeah. Anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.